Hello there! Today we are diving into the art of Alla Prima oil painting, a technique where spontaneity meets precision. Whether you are rekindling a passion for painting or starting a new hobby, this session is tailored for you. So, what is exactly Alla Prima? Alla Prima is an Italian expression that means at first attempt, or as the Spanish would say, a la primera. It refers to a wet on wet approach where wet paint is applied to a still wet paint. Very often in a single setting, especially if the painting is very small. Alla Prima is also called direct painting. I know my background is pretty empty and bare today since we just painted the room, so all my paintings and books are gone, but don't worry because it's all here. So what makes Alla Prima painting so attractive to painters? Well, the main reason is time concerns because it can often be done in a single setting. But most importantly, it encourages the size brushstroke and an avoidance of overworking. This is why Alla Prima painting is my preferred method of painting to this day. In this video, I am going to show you how I painted this 8x10, and I encourage you to try this approach, and please let me know how it goes in your comments. The first thing I do is apply a thin layer of linseed oil all throughout the painting with a very soft, flat comb brush. And I do it in horizontal strokes and vertical strokes, making sure that I cover the whole canvas. And then I wipe all the excess oil and I do the same thing, horizontal and vertical strokes. After that, I began painting the background using the mixtures that I have already made. And the reason why I start with the background is the background is really the easiest. And it will affect how everything, especially the clothes, looks like. So if you notice the mixtures that I have for the background, they are green and pink, therefore cool and warm, and I put them throughout just to create a little bit of variety. And at this point, I'm not really trying to change much. I am just really to paint what I see, because the first stages, I'm not exactly sure what I am doing. I'm just feeling my way through, and with every stroke then I will get more information. The middle of it is a lot lighter than the ends of it, and that will create a little bit of a focal point effect. And I am using right now a flat, soft brush of a small, medium size. And the reason why I'm using this brush is because this is a very small painting. This is only 8x10. If the painting were larger, I would definitely go with a larger brush. So this should be considered a really medium-sized brush. I'm applying a little bit of yellow there to warm it up too, even though I really don't see all that yellow in the background, but I really warm it up. And now I start with the peaches or the nectarines, and I start with the darks. Now my darks are going to be all the same, and I have already made them in the palette, and you can see it. I'm including the palette so you can see the mixtures that I'm grabbing. I started with the darkest one, the darkest color, and I did it with ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and a little bit of red. So they're warm. And then I grab the second dark and I put it right next to the darkest dark, and I'm not blending. As you can see, I am painting right next to it, and I apply them as I see them. And now I'm painting the core, and I'm getting to the third mixture that is already lighter, and it has a lot more red. So basically every mixture that I have on the nectarines have a little bit more red. All right, and these will create the illusion of form. Again, stress enough the importance of being methodical, and that means the single-handedly used to really go through the mixtures that you have taken the time to make and apply them, and don't be too concerned with whether they look too mechanical or not, because this is just the first stages, and this painting is Alla Prima, and the aim for this is to make this whole painting in one shot. So if we're going to do this, we really cannot make any refinements. What it is possible to do, and I have done in the past, is paint a painting Alla Prima this way, but then let it dry, and then continue, and then go again with one or two more layers. Absolutely, but I am not going to do it with this one. So this is just, I'm seeing this as an exercise just to see how close I can get to what I see, without fussing too much with it, and without adding too many strokes and blending too much. Just paint the mixtures as I see them in the photo, and you can see in the posterized version all of the mixtures separated, and I did that so you could see them. Now looking at this, I realized I shouldn't have picked this white satin cloth, because it's really complicated, all of these colors on it. For a painting Alla Prima, and to try to paint it as fast as possible, I strongly recommended that you just pick a table, all right? And that way you don't have folds, and you don't have the light and different hues catching too much, even though there will be some on the table, but definitely there will not be nearly as many as in this painting. So one thing that I can tell you is, every painting that you do, you're going to learn something, and it will propel you towards the next painting. And sometimes learning what not to do is just as important as learning what to do. You have to be making those mistakes in order to eliminate them later on. I'm adding the yellows and the warms on the nectarine now, painting the lightest light. That's always fun. And I'm working my way around to try to finish the nectarines first before starting with the cloth. Now the lightest parts of these nectarines lean towards pinks and purples, because they are cool, and these nectarines were placed under the north light. North light is cool. Therefore, you're going to have cool lights and warm shadows. I start painting the cloth, and the same thing, I start painting the darks in the cloth. And as you can see, this looks really green, but in the photograph it looks really green. So I'm not making any translations here, because I took my time to make all those mixtures, so I know these are the right colors for the cloth. And make sure that when you do that your brushes are clean. All right, it's okay to go, if you're painting on the brush, maybe use the same brush, just wipe it slightly, but don't go from the nectarines to the cloth with the same brush, because that's how you make mud. All the colors mixed together, and it's just a disaster. So use a different brush, one or two for the background, and one or two for the nectarines, and one or two for the clothing. And I know I'm a little bit lighter now in that mixture, but in the real photo there's a little bit of a reflected light in there that it doesn't show in the posterized picture, so I'm painting it. And notice how the colors are really complementary. Like right now is purple, I'm painting the purple, and that purple is a complementary of that green. So when two complementary colors are placed together, you create vibrancy. And of course the complementary colors, these are very, very subdued, they're very grayed down, because we do not want those to compete with the nectarines. All right, so I have a value scale. I did it at the bottom of my palette, and you can see some grays there. And definitely I make first the main gray and mix the main gray for the cloth, and then to that gray I add the pigment or the hue that I see. And that is really the easiest way to do it. Now you're not seeing all that in this one because the painting will be too long, and this is not, I have made videos showing you that, but in this one, this is not what I want to show you. In this one I want to show you how I apply them, how I am methodical and really trying not to fuss too much with the painting and be economical in trying to achieve and say exactly what I want to say without too much fuss. It's important to trust your own process, and you need to decide what it is that you want to achieve and try different ways to achieve it. This method of painting is just mine and one that I found very useful, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to follow the same one. Basically it boils down to do more of what works and then do less of what doesn't work, and keep doing it while it works. Repeat what works and stop doing what doesn't. Repetition is the key to learning. If you find yourself always trying different approaches and changing them without really giving them the time to learn them right, then you're always going to be permanently frustrated. You need to trust that the process and the way of painting will give you the answers you seek by repetition. So the more paintings you paint, the better you will be, but only if you really conscientiously are repeating the same process. If you use different techniques all the time, then you're never going to give yourself enough time to learn them right and to see whether they're working or not. This is just one that I started using, and I really love how much sense it meant and it made to me. But I know it's a little tedious for a lot of people. A lot of my students didn't want to follow this approach, and it was just fine. They were getting great results without it. So by all means, this is just to show you as a guide, and the purpose of this video is to show you how if you stick to your approach, you'll get results, and you have to give yourself time. And don't feel that you need to be getting the image you want at all times immediately. I have to go through the painstaking process of applying all of the colors first before I blend anything. And I don't want to do that because, remember, this is just one setting. And if I start fussing too much on one area before I paint the other areas, then the other areas will dry, and you cannot work with dry paint. You need to make sure everything is wet, and you do not want to drag a painting for 12 to 13 hours. It's exhausting. I used to be able to paint for that long, not anymore. So I'm doing everything in sizes and stages, and make sure that a painting session is not going to take me more than 4 hours. This way, it forces me to be economical with the time and precise. Your best paintings are always going to come out when you are working in a way that is a full expression of you. When your work becomes a natural display of your personality. This is when you not only get better results, but also love the painting, the doing of the painting. Because when you are painting, then you're feeling alive. So learn from different teachers and learn different approaches until you find that one that resonates with you and with your soul. Because when you do that, you're gonna be far more likely to stick with it enough to come up with a good painting. Because in order to come up with anything good, we need to stick with it. We need to make many, But how do we make money? Well, when we are passionate about what we're doing. It's not a matter of having a talent. It's not really the talent. It's the passion, because the passion makes you want to do something repeatedly. Nobody was born drawing wonderfully, you learn by doing, and the kid that enjoys drawing naturally is going to be far better than the kid that doesn't, only because the kid that enjoys drawing is going to be drawing a lot more. So it really boils down to that. Now I'm using a small size to blend all the edges, and this brush is very soft. It's a natural, small, soft mongoose brush. And if you notice the way I'm blending, I'm only blending the edges of the tones. I am not rubbing the tones together, because if you do that, then you eliminate these beautiful mixtures, and that's how mud happens, and your painting will become dead. So I'm just going through the edges and just push them once, nest to the nest, one nest to the next one, just to create continuity and the illusion of form. And I'm changing and making sure that the brush for different areas is a different one. But if I'm working on one area in particular, then I'm using the same brush, because a little bit of the pigment, overall pigment in the brush, is actually very helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give it a like, and let me know in your comments, because this will help me continue making videos that you can enjoy. I'm using a very, very soft comb brush, and I'm very gently moving the paint around a little bit to avoid reflections. And now I'm using a fairly large flat comb brush for the background, and those brushes can only be used at the very end when you want things to move around just ever so slightly. I can't emphasize enough the importance of having a very light touch. And if you see, I'm holding the brush from the tip of it, from the end of it, because that will allow me to be very, very gentle, and also move away from the painting. Don't get too close to it to really see. And I'm adding last touches, which is a little bit of the reflections on some of the nectarine, and blending the lights around a little bit, and adding a little bit more of the reds that emphasize the really bright reds. And that's about it, and I think we are done.